everyone, my name is teacher Ragini and welcome to Form 2 Science. So in Form 2 Science, we will be covering a total of 13 chapters. And today let's start to take a look at chapter 1. Okay, this will be our very first chapter. Let me just share my screen here. All right. So if you take a look at your notes, you will see chapter 1 is about biodiversity. All right, what is biodiversity actually? I'm sure a lot of you have heard this word before, but let's look at it in more detail. Biodiversity comes from the word bio, which means living things, and diversity, which means a variety, all right? Many types of living things, right? So biodiversity is just a variety of biology or a variety of living organisms on Earth. So what are the living organisms that we have on Earth? We have plants, we have animals, and we also have microorganisms or tiny organisms. Right. Biodiversity exists because we have a variety of habitats and climates. So what is a habitat? Habitat is basically where animals live, right? So they can live in a forest, they can live in an ocean, they can live in a river, many different types of places they can live. And these environments have a certain impact on the types of animals that can live there. So of course, in the ocean, fishes can live in the ocean. Okay, horses have to live on dry land. So only certain animals can live in cold places, certain animals can live in warm places. So that's why we have different types of animals and plants. And climates as well, right? So the weather, whether is it hot, is it cold, is it dry, is it moist? This affects the kind of life that can sustain in those places. So scientists have estimated there are roughly about 13 million species of animals and plants on Earth, but we have only identified 1.75 million of them. So those that have been identified, they have been given names. All right, so we have a system for naming all these different species and the close related cousins and so on and so forth. All right, so there's actually a lot more out there that we haven't quite identified them yet. So that's pretty exciting also, right? A lot more things to look forward to in terms of animals and plants that we don't really know all of them yet. All right, so before we go into the different types of animals and their adaptations, plants and the way they have adapted, can you think about why is it so important, this topic of biodiversity? Why is it even a chapter in our science topic, in our science subject? Does anyone know why is biodiversity so important? Sometimes I think as human beings, we think that we are self-sustaining, right? We go to the supermarket to buy our food nowadays. We don't hunt for animals. We don't really grow our plants anymore. But actually, everything around us is interconnected, right? Even the food that we buy in the supermarket has to be grown first. It has to be harvested, and then only eventually it goes through manufacturing and so on, and then it reaches us. Okay, don't even go so far. Now I'm sitting here, and you guys are all in my class, and we are breathing oxygen, correct? But this oxygen is not manufactured by the air conditioning. The oxygen comes from the plants around us. So that's why sometimes we see our city council growing trees all along the streets and all these things, right? Every life on Earth is very interconnected with each other. We all need something from each other. So we have to take care of our plants and animals so that they don't go extinct. Because if they do go extinct, then it will affect a lot of other things as well, and life as we know it right now. All right. So Malaysia is a country that is very rich in biodiversity. We know this. We have lots of plants and animals. Malaysia is also known for their endemic species, which are almost extinct on the face of the earth. What's the meaning of endemic actually? It became quite popular after COVID, right? Endemic. Endemic simply means that it is exclusive to a particular geographical area. Right? So Malaysia has certain species that only exist here in Malaysia. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Right? So if we don't take care of it, it can go extinct. Extinct meaning it doesn't exist anymore anywhere on Earth. All right? So let's take a look at some of the adaptations by plants and animals to their particular habitat. Okay, so camels, they have humps. We all know this. They have humps on their back to keep food and water because they live in deserts, right? So sometimes they have to go long periods of time without any food or water. So this is kind of a way that they have adapted to that particular climate and that place. Cacti or cactus plant, they grow in deserts. They have leaves shaped like thorns. And the thorns are meant to minimize water loss. Okay, it's very, very small, thin leaves, not big leaves that can evaporate more water. How about whales? Whales, they live in water. We know whales are very, very big, but they have small frames compared to their body size. So if you actually look at their skeletal structure, it's very, very small compared to the overall body because they need to be supported by water buoyancy. And then we have cucumber plants with soft stems and tendrils. You can see this curly kind of structure over here. So this helps the cucumber plant to climb other plants or the fence or anything like that so that it can get more sunlight. Elephants, they are big and strong because they need to support their body weight. All right, we know this one. Mangroves. Mangroves grow in soft and muddy habitats and have stilt roots. Stilt roots are roots for plants that live in waterlogged areas. Meaning to say that it's a plant growing but in a kind of a watery kind of area, right? So the stilt roots is a thing that keeps the plant upright. It's slightly different from our regular plant roots. Bears and penguins live in northern and southern hemisphere. They have a thick layer of fat and fur to avoid heat loss. They need to retain their heat, okay, because it's a very, very cold environment. Coconut trees that live on the beach have smooth and spread out leaves to avoid from being torn by strong winds. So it kind of blows with the wind, right? It doesn't fight the wind, it blows along with the wind so that it doesn't tear easily or anything like that. Right? So you see all these plants and animals, they have kind of adapted to the wherever they are located. If they are at the beach, they grow a certain type of food. If they are in a cold country, they grow a certain type of fur. They have different things going on with their body and so on. Right? So everything is working out all the time. So the government took initiatives to protect these species regarding the endemic species just now, almost extinct, by establishing preservation and conservation centers, enforcing laws, as well as raising awareness. So these are some of our endemic species in Malaysia. We have the 𝗏𝗡, we have the hornbill, we have the tapir, we have rhinoceros, Sumatra rhinoceros, we have orangutan, and we have the 𝗙𝗀 plant. All right, so these are some of the things that are exclusive to Malaysia. Okay. Shall we take a look at some questions? Okay, let's take a look at some questions, how questions can come out in this chapter. Right, let's try out this question together, yeah? So this one is kind of a long form question. This can come out in your section C of your exam. Let's take a look at this. We go through the questions together. I want you guys to think about your answers, all right? Just if you have some points, maybe you can write it down, and then we'll look at the correct answer together in a minute, all right? So Malaysia is rich and fertile. It's a rich and fertile land because of its favorable weather conditions that promote the growth of various flora and fauna. Okay, Malaysia has about 20% of the world's total animal species. Out of 4,600 species of mammals in the world, 280 of them are found in Malaysia. However, some of the species are endangered and almost extinct. In your opinion, what is the factor that makes Malaysia one of the mega biodiversity countries? What are the factors? What's the cause? What's the reason why Malaysia is one of the mega biodiversity countries? Of course, it's able to sustain a lot of different types of life, right? A lot of different species. So what makes it able to do that? Let's think about that. Could it be something to do with the climate? The kinds of habitats we have for animals over here? Maybe. What does biodiversity mean? This was the one just now where they broke down the word bio and diversity, so we can explain it like that. State one species of animal that is threatened with extinction in Malaysia. So just now we saw a number of species, right? We can write one answer for this. In your opinion, what is the main cause? What's the cause for extinction of that particular animal species? What are some human activities relating to the cause of extinction? What are the things that human beings are doing to, spoil the habitats, to affect climate change and so on? What can we do to ensure that future generations can enjoy the biodiversity that exists today? What can we do to maintain this biodiversity that we have? All right. I hope you guys have thought about your answers and maybe you've taken some notes. Let's look at the answers together. All right. All right. So what is the factor that makes Malaysia one of the mega biodiversity countries? Of course, our climate is ideal. It's not too hot, not too cold, kind of moderate temperature. And we have a high amount of rainfall. So a lot of plants and animals can survive over here. Okay. What's the meaning of biodiversity? It is simply the diversity of living organisms found on Earth. State one species of animal that is threatened with extinction. So you can just name one. We saw just now the Malayan tapir is one of the animals. In your opinion, what is the main cause? What's the main causes of extinction? Loss of habitats to provide shelters, breeding grounds, and food due to human activities. All right. So if the place that animals need to live is gone, all right, they have lost the place because humans are using it for breeding or using it for other human activities like agriculture and so on, then animals have nowhere to go, right? So this is one of the causes of extinction. Give two human activities relating to the cause of extinction. One is, of course, deforestation and mining. All of these things cause the loss of habitats for animals. And finally, what can we do to ensure that future generations can enjoy the biodiversity? We can do biodiversity management. All right, we need to manage it to make sure that we preserve and conserve our flora and fauna. We can enact, enforce, and tighten environmental laws. We can control urbanization. We shouldn't build too many, buildings, bridges, and roads and everything, without any consideration. Urbanization is important, but we have to have some consideration so that animals and plants can thrive as well, not just human beings, right? Conservation of biodiversity through biotechnology. So by using biotechnology, we can understand more about the animals' genetics, the plants, the DNA, what are the things that they require, how can we preserve the habitat, how can we conserve the biodiversity that we have right now. All right, so we can use biotechnology to understand the environment and the ecosystem very well so that we can make informed decisions. And of course, forest conservation. So you will see like certain areas in Pahang, I think even in Selangor, there are certain areas whereby a lot of activities are prohibited. Okay, no one can go cut the trees as they wish and so on. This is to make sure that we are conserving those plants and also conserving the habitat for animals. All right, so that would be all for this first subtopic, and I will see you guys in the next one.